Hey guys, welcome to SJU. It is Friday, and it's a really stacked Friday. We have a ton. There's tons of information about the Snyder Cut reshoots that's coming out. So we're going to sort of look at all of it and figure out exactly what is and isn't happening in the world of the Snyder Cut, and then we're gonna jump right over to the distinguished competition over at Marvel. There's gonna be a Nick Fury Disney Plus show. We're gonna talk about that sucker. Not a ton of information other than it exists, so it'll mostly just be us going, "What do you think?" and I don't know, maybe saying something funny. And then stick around. We will be answering your questions live in the chat, or just your comments. If you just have if you don't have a question, you just want to say something, we'll respond to it. Who knows? Stick around. It's going to be a good time. I got Spencer J. Gilbert with me.
Hey now.
Yeah, and I got an Eric Golden with me.
Happy Friday.
Eric, there's no themed toy.
Well, I mean, there might be one lurking.
Hey!
I don't have Snyderverse toys. I'm sorry.
I was waiting for your Zack Snyder Funko.
Yes.
just a really ripped Funko Pop with like huge arms and a black t-shirt.
You know what's funny? I did get sent a press kit for Fandom, DC Fandom, that included a Justice League specific Aquaman Funko, but I don't know where he is right now.
Oh.
My man. I'm sorry.
My man. Well, hey guys, before we jump in, the next Fandom 5 trivia show is today. Today is Friday. It's at 4 p.m. Pacific time. That's 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's on The Simpsons. So if you know your Simpsons stuff, come in, show up. It's a super fun show. You win money. That's a good thing to deserve for your knowledge. Then you can be like, yeah, Mom and Dad, it was worth me knowing all the Simpsons stuff because look at all this cash. I can pay a bill. So yeah, that's gonna be a super fun show. Let's jump into
Joe, and just remind him it's not right after this show like usual. Sorry, it's not right out. Usually
4
it's right
p.m.
after.
So it's later today. We're giving you a little bit of a breather, a little bit of break from us, and then it's gonna be super fun. Yeah, I don't know what's going on out there, man. Even our emergency services confused about these Snyder Cut reshoots. So here's what we know. The Zack Snyder Cut of Justice League will contain brand new footage. He is doing a week of additional filming with the main cast, according to an individual with knowledge of the project, that is via The Wrap. So then we jump to THR. The shoot, according to her, will turn the Snyder Cut into a 4-episode limited series and is expected to bring back Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, but more on that part in a minute, and Gal as Wonder Woman for new scenes. So here's the first thing that's sort of going around. The Snyder Cut will be a 4-hour-long episodic presentation on HBO Max created with a budget of around $70 million. So the thing that's going around the internet right now is that these reshoots cost $70 million. And that's not quite correct. The budget of this whole project is $70 million, not this week's worth of reshoots. That said, you guys, we've been waiting this long. You know, they put planes in the air, they marched for it. $70 million in a week, worth it?
But it's not $70 million in a week. You just said that.
No, I know. But no, I'm just saying, if it was true, like, why not?
True. That'd be a, I don't know how much the breakdown is on per week. That sounds like a lot for a week of shooting, but I imagine that this is for the editor's time to recut everything and for the special effects people to fill in the green screens and stuff like that. I imagine that the reshoots are mostly for like plot purposes or just stitching things together, maybe that he shot earlier and Joss maybe used in a weird way, or like I imagine that this is just to create some connective tissue between scenes, because it just seems like, wow, it costs more than $70 million to like get everybody back in shape, get them in their costumes that they were originally in, recreate some of the sound stages and stuff like that. It seems like this could probably or will likely be more of the low-key conversational stuff that he's going to need to fill in the blanks here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seems, no matter what, though, of course, 70 million is, as many people have noted, that's more than it cost to make, say, Joker, which ended up being a massive hit, bigger hit than Justice League was for Warner Brothers. And of course, it does kind of really, I think, hammer home the fact that the Snyder Cut, the mythical Snyder Cut, the version people wanted released was not ready to go. That when people well before we ever thought Zack Snyder would come back and be this heavily involved. And it was just fans saying, release it, put it out there. You have it. It sounds like they didn't have it because this is a lot of work and a lot of money. And Sarah has some thoughts on it as well to go into this. So I think it just really shows you that there was never a completed version before it was handed over to Whedon.
Well, especially with this format change, right? Especially with having to do some restructuring with this episodic format, because they have to put a little more panache on this than, say, in the old days, Eric, where when G.I. Joe the cartoon used to air, and they'd air like G.I. Joe the movie and just split it into 20-minute increments, and it would cut to commercial or cut to credits, like
Saved by the Bell Hawaiian style did the same thing, just aired as 4 episodes.
No, absolutely they did. But
I love that if that's what they're filming is just people, like the episode breaks, so people be like, oh, who's that? And then they all look at towards a door, and then it fades to credits.
I mean, I kind of think they are a little bit, but I do think you're right, Eric, that obviously a lot more work needed to be done. This project itself even was originally budgeted for $30 million, and a jump to 70 is still a big jump, even though that jump is not for just a week of reshoots. It's still a big jump.
Yeah, and I do wonder, like, here's the thing: any reshoots, again, a week, we don't know how much of this will be like screen time will that make in the movie, but it is interesting to note that when you watch the theatrical cut of Justice League, it is very clear that they were shooting people like a year apart or several months apart, and people were no longer in the exact same physique, Affleck especially, because he was in sort of like obviously so jacked up to play Batman. And then he wasn't for the reshoots because he's a human being, but it was very jarring because they would cut within a scene to footage where you're like, he looks different here. Once again, that's going to be an issue, and now we're like 4 years removed from when they first shot Justice League. And I think a lot of this extra budget probably will be, I don't want to scare people because they have nightmares of digital mustache removal, but there will have to be trickery, whether it be lighting, camera angles, and some digital work to make people look 4 years younger and in a different physical shape than they were.
And hopefully, for the sake of our own Danielle Radford, some of that money is being put into good wigs. Because even the Josh wig reshoots were rough.
Oh, yeah. Not as bad as the Fantastic Four reshoot wigs. Like Kate Mara's
that was
wig.
a spiteful wig.
Wow.
That was an evil wig, yes.
That was a slap in the face of the studio, that wig. But yeah, no, that is a hell of a hurdle to climb. We're how many years away?
The film shot in 2016, I think, right? So that's, the first time. Or was it 2015 the first time? And it was a while either way.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely wild. So, speaking of mustaches and the removal of mustaches, and the question of whether or not it'll be necessary to remove mustaches, the other thing that's blown up today is the Henry Cavill of it all. So, Collider reported, I need to come up with a funny way to pronounce Collider like I do to her in Viva Variety. Collider.
Collider?
Collider. So they say Cavill is not coming to LA to shoot with Snyder. So they reported that because they asked him about the Snyder Cut during the press for Enola Holmes, which was a couple weeks ago before any of these reports came out, Henry Cavill said, quote, that he's not shooting anything additional. It's all stuff that's already been done. Obviously, I don't know how things are going to evolve and change and adapt depending on now a different length of movie and whatever may happen in post-production. Whatever lessons may be learned from, 4 years since Justice League came out? 4 years worth of fan reaction. For me, right now, I'm just sitting back and watching The Party, which is a very polite answer for an actor who would much rather be talking about the movie he's currently promoting.
I will say it could be I don't think he said exactly in the report when it was, but with Enola Holmes coming out this week, it could have been as soon as, like this week that this talk was happening, but it definitely was before the rap and THR reports had come out saying that he was coming.
And there's also, there's also a little thing where none of these people are under oath. Yeah. Like if your job is to not Mark Ruffalo the secrets of the Snyder Cut, you're going to tell people that you're not shooting any new stuff for the Snyder Cut.
Sometimes people lie. They, they remember when Khan wasn't in Star Trek Into Darkness until he totally was.
We're a bunch of damn carnies. They're protecting the biz. And Eric, you made a good point with this. The dude can shoot in London.
Yeah, because they pointed out he's doing The Witcher season 2, so it's like obviously with COVID, it's way more difficult for him to say take a weekend to fly over. Mm-hmm. But again, assuming this isn't like giant scenes, but more like connective tissue, little things. And they once again, just like with the Whedon reshoots, they are going to have the problem of reassembling all these big actors. They could just shoot him in London if they need like a few lines of Superman. Yeah, that is like Warner Brothers has some facilities in London too, and they can make that happen.
Yeah. Now here's the concern, and Spencer, I want to ask you about this. Does this start to get like Arrested Development new season vibes where they couldn't get everyone together and it just starts to look real weird?
It depends how much is still on the cutting room floor that Zack Snyder shot and wasn't used. I mean, by his estimate, right, it's like 75% or something is new or is unseen or didn't make it into the cut. So he might not really need much in terms of new footage. Part of me hopes, just to preserve the Justice League experience, that Henry Cavill shoots in London, but for whatever reason he can't take off his Witcher hair, so they have to digitally remove the
part of his hair.
Like, what's happening up here? His scalp looks weird.
Well, then they have to CG on the Superman mullet.
Yeah, 90s mullet. Do it.
So yeah, just like a bad Snapchat filter version of Superman's hair, kind of like floating over him, would give me the security of knowing I'm watching a Justice League movie. But I do think that if what Zack Snyder said is to be believed, that he doesn't need that much more, or he can work around it because Superman's not that talkative anyways in his films.
So there are also let's make things a little more complicated because then on top of that you have these very public issues with Ray Fisher and Jason Momoa on one side, and then like Jeff Johns and Warner Brothers on the other side. It seems like they're very loyal to Zack Snyder. It seems like I asked them. We took a quick walk to 7-Eleven the other day to just get
mimosas with Momoa, right? That's what you do?
Yeah, mimosas with Momoa, and we were just shooting the shit about the Snyder Cut, right? But everything they said publicly, it seems like they're very loyal to Zack Snyder, so would probably be willing to come do this for Zack, but then the studio does not seem thrilled with the two of them, so that seems like a huge mess.
Especially Ray, because Jason, they're in the Aquaman business with no matter what.
Right.
But Ray, that's...
Ray a little less so. Not a lot of details about that. Have really emerged other than Ray saying it was bad and Warner Brothers
enabled it.
Enabled it, and they've retaliated publicly, and that just seems like a kind of a brutal situation that will probably make for a very weird set for these reshoots.
It just sounds like this weird, I don't know, it just sounds like this ongoing saga. The fact that one day, years ago, they're like, we're going to make a Justice League movie, what could go wrong? And now it's still happening. And I don't want to take a side here because I don't know the full story. And on one hand, I could be frustrated, like, oh, Ray Fisher has been so vague, but maybe he feels he can't legally say what it is. So we don't know. And I don't want to be like, protect Warner Brothers, because they don't need my protection. Just, this is very uncomfortable. They are in an ongoing issue with him that's being very public right now. And it sounds like his job in the Flash movie is probably on the line in the midst of this. While he's doing reshoots for a Warner Brothers project, I can't remember if it's the rapper THR that even threw into the mix something that no one had been mentioning, which is, while all these attacks on Whedon are happening, Whedon's making a TV show for HBO, for Warner Media. So it's like, it's just this strange situation that the Snyder cut of it all that keeps building as far as all the drama. One day it'll make a fascinating book, I feel. But it's so strange.
Yeah, it does say in the article that his issue is with two executives and Joss Whedon, and all of them are gone from Warner Brothers. So while I know that there's some investigations ongoing or remaining,
yes, they're doing an internal investigation, but the people investigating it is Warner investigating themselves, or I'm sure maybe they're bringing in a third party to help do that. But yeah, the leadership that is being accused is not the leadership now in this battle with him over the investigation.
Yeah, so like for Snyder Cut reshoots, he's not going to be like through gritted teeth, like, hello, good to see you again. Like those people are gone.
Well, it has gotten really messy though, because Walter Hamada, who was not part of any of this, he's been drawn into it because now there's been some public fighting with Ray Fisher and him. And did he try to, quote, throw like Whedon and Berg under the bus to protect Jeff Johns? And so now he is part. It's so strange because that's when Warner Brothers put out their only kind of big statement, kind of backing Hamada in the middle of this. And
there's been disputes over like, is Ray Fisher, cooperating with the investigation itself? Obviously, he's saying he is, and there's been claims from the Warner side
and
not being cooperating.
And look, I'm not super interested in trying to speculate over somebody else's laundry and issues. When I think when the story becomes clear, and that's when we'll actually cover, because we've also had people in chat and comments and stuff like, when are you going to talk about this? When there's actually a story to talk about, I think is the best way to go. Otherwise, it's just sort of like YouTube drama chat, which doesn't super interest me. But hopefully they have a comfortable time on this shoot, and I'm glad all these guys are getting to at least make some form of the vision they all originally signed on for before it all got super weird.
Very weird. Yeah.
Speaking of weird, gentlemen, let's talk about the Flash of it all. Let's make this more complicated. So, obviously, there are a lot of questions, and Warner Brothers hasn't really tackled this at all. Other than, no news means that Ezra's the Flash, regardless of what weirdness he's done in public or whatever. Like, it doesn't seem that Warner Brothers is, super concerned because, no announcement has been made either way. But when I talk about the Flash of it all, I'm more interested in like, okay, now we know how big this Flashpoint movie is. And we know it involves Batfleck. It might even involve Cavill. They're trying to place him in all of these cameo positions as Superman. So could some of this Snyder Cut reshooting be some character placement to get everybody in their Flashpoint starting points?
It's just such a weird question because I'm blending now our conversation before we started filming with now, but it's like I was joking about which version of Justice League is canon now, but it is a question, right? And especially as like with the DCEU of it all, it's like, okay, now there's going to be this Snyder Cut version. Does it officially replace the theatrical version? So I almost feel like I'm doubting they would do anything to set up the Flash movie because this seems such a special situation with Snyder coming back when it seemed like he had really turned his back on Warner Brothers. But who knows? Like maybe they agreed, part of the agreement to even give him $70 million was like, hey, can you set up this one scene with Ezra where he says this line of dialogue and then it pays off in the Flash movie,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the involvement of Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck just tells you that the reason that Flashpoint's going to be big is because it's their get-out-of-jail-free card. It's the run so fast that canon gets all jumbled up and happens to fall into place in the way we want it to. So I'm willing to bet that nothing before Flashpoint is going to be that important, and everything after Flashpoint is going to be the canon of after that. They haven't even tried to keep it consistent, really, up until then. And I think that they'll take a second attempt at least not having multiple versions of the same character running around post-Flashpoint. That's Spenny's guarantee. You can take it to the bank.
I 90% agree with you. My caveat is the things that'll count are Aquaman 1 and at least the first Wonder Woman because they made a lot of money and they were pretty well received. So it's like, those will count in their own. But like you said, I think it will be picking and choosing. Here's what we want to count, and they'll plug it in.
Yeah, the Aquaman trench counts because we got a movie in development.
That's right.
Do you guys have any other big thoughts, closing thoughts about the Snyder Cut at all? Obviously, this thing, they're expecting this to perform big. Subscriber base wise for HBO Max. Do you think it will? Do you think it's worth it?
I certainly hope so. Like I was talking with someone on Twitter about this. Like, I truly believe the Snyder Cut only exists right now in this form because of HBO Max. I think if HBO Max wasn't launching, here's what would happen in 10 years. They would have put out, after, we've mended fences, Zach can come back and re-edit his footage and we'll put out, maybe we put $5 million into it and he puts out a movie version of it. This is happening the way it's happening because of HBO Max. It's a lot. I don't know if it's worth, my God, like think about the original budget of this movie, plus all the Whedon reshoots, plus this. This has to be one of the most expensive movies ever, cumulative.
Yeah, there was someone who did some writing on it who said it would be like 4.6 million subscribers would have to subscribe for a month and for it to make its money back. And this is all estimates. We've seen how estimates can be, but like this is just one thing. And then if just one of them, keeps it for more than a month, doesn't just cancel after a month, then they would start to be in profit. So now that doesn't mean it has to get 4.6 million subscribers, but they're just trying to put into some type of illustration, like how many just 1 month subscribers would take to like all of a sudden fill you up. And then anybody who doesn't cancel their subscription, like that's when you then start to make money off it down the road.
So
and that this is going to be like in a sick black Blu-ray package too. Like they'll find other ways to sell this to you.
Sure.
But because 4.6 million, was that the number?
Yeah.
That's a lot of
4.6 million was the number of just like 1 month. Even if they all canceled after that 1 month, you get 4.6 million monthly dues. Then that would, make up the 70 million or whatever. It was like.
It also makes me wonder if some of these pickup lines are going to be Aquaman being like, "And after we handle this, stick around for next month for season 2 of Perry Mason, my man." or not canceling.
I almost feel like the value is this video. The value is all the talk they're getting. They're getting like a year and a half worth of free publicity for HBO Max in this weird way of just like we said, they didn't launch with any buzzed about Mandalorian type titles, but here they have us and a lot of other people talking a lot about an HBO Max title, even one that is debated. Is this a waste to spend money? All this talk. Well, we're talking about it. I think the buzz guys, it works.
Yeah, we're all carnies, baby.
And if 500,000 or 1 million people stay for 6 months, like the numbers can, it's really all about, it's a lot of factors to go into it. So I don't think this is like, if it doesn't get 4.6 million Snyder Cut fans to subscribe, it's a failure. That's not what this is at all. It's just, it's various ways to illustrate of like the different types of value. And like Eric's right, there's non-monetary value that they might have calculations for of like, general advertisement. What is this?
How much would it cost in marketing to get people to talk about HBO Max versus this, which you do it for free?
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, hey, boys, you know what else is free? Coming around later this afternoon and watching the Fandom 5 Trivia Simpsons edition. Come answer some questions about the Simpsons. Hang out with me, win money. It's a good deal all around. That's at 4 o'clock Pacific time. We'll see you guys then. In the meantime, again, lots of crazy news dropped today. Disney Plus announced they're doing a Nick Fury series starring our own Samuel L. Jackson, America's Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh no!
Viva Variety.
Nick down.
Nick down!
He's faking it.
He's good. Yeah, he's fine. So the plot details of the show are obviously being kept under wrap. But multiple sources are saying that Jackson is attached to star with Kyle Bradstreet, attached to write and executive produce. He is, of course, of Mr. Robot fame. And then, of course, like all the Marvel shows at Disney Plus, Marvel Studios will be producing this. So, yeah, this is cool. The last time we saw Nick was after Far From Home, and he was on board a Skrull ship, just like hanging out in his slippers.
Seem nice?
Yeah. So wildly speculate. Go.
I do feel like I could be totally wrong. Maybe this show will be a space set show, but it feels more like we're going to resolve Nick being in space before this show. Because it feels like if you're doing Nick Fury, it should be a more small scale relative to other Marvel stuff's, project. Mm-hmm. It should be like a cool spy espionage story. And yes, you could have really cool fancy gadgets, but I don't know if I need it to be Nick Fury in space as much as Nick Fury kind of racing around the globe somewhere.
Well, Spencer, we know that the Fast and Furious team is going to go to space, but do you want Nick Fury to be there?
Bring Nick Fury home. He's an Earthling. He belongs here on Terra Firma.
Unlike Vin Diesel, unlike Dom Toretto.
Dom Toretto.
Revealed as an alien.
His place is among the stars.
They're going to go for a whole Star-Lord reveal with Dom. I can see it.
They will.
And I want to see what Ryan drop some thoughts about the Nick Fury show from Chad in there. I want to see what people are sort of talking about. I'm going to call my big shot. This is going to be called Nick Fury Sword and Shield. And it's going to be in space.
Not everything's King Arthur, Joe.
No, so Sword is the space version of
Peace. Oh, got it.
It is a thing. And everything is King Arthur, Spencer. Shut your mouth.
I thought you were going to backdoor another King Arthur show at us.
And here's the deal. Nick Fury sets up a new base in Stonehenge and meets Merlin, and they become best friends. Merlin turns him into a wisecracking squirrel. So that's my call. I think this Nick Fury thing is the backdoor pilot for the space version of S.H.I.E.L.D. And not only that, but I think it will set up the characters that are eventually going to replace Nick so that Sam can retire and play golf peacefully.
The man is 71, which is not. I'm not saying don't give a 71-year-old a TV show. I'm just impressed. He does a hell of a lot. I am curious. I hate to even bring this up because I know the chances of it are so small. But with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. gone, and I do believe, yes, it's extremely unlikely they will ever reference anything directly from that. But if they were to take anything, if they thought there was any value in, I think, specifically Quake, specifically if they thought like, oh, that would be cool to see her again and actually make her Marvel Studio-ized, I'll just say the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. finale gave them a very open door to what you're talking about, Joe. All
right.
If they wanted to ever connect that, they probably wouldn't. I think that Jarvis cameo in Endgame is probably the most we're ever going to get of a TV show character.
Yeah.
I mean, Marvel Studios.
I think so.
They could.
I think you're right. I think if they're going to do it, this is the show to do it. Like if any of the Coulson or any of them are going to come back, this is the show to do it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I doubt it.
I doubt it too.
But the chat was on the same page as you, and we all kind of agreed that if there were, we're skeptical they would, but the only three characters and actors who were big enough to ever make a cameo would be Coulson, May, or Quake. Like those, just because of who they are as performers, that you could see it. But that's where we're at as well.
Spencer, one of the last times we saw Nick Fury in an MCU movie too was him playing the younger version of himself in Captain Marvel. Definitely still moving like a 70-year-old man.
From the neck down,
the Irishman factor.
Yeah. From the neck down, it's moving like 70-year-old man. I don't know what does this show need to be like. Does Sam Jackson? And I'm not telling Sam Jackson what to do. The man can do whatever the hell he wants. But does he still need to be running around and doing a space action?
Yeah,
movie?
he could do some yoga, some beach volleyball, really limber up and be in the best shape of his life. But I think that maybe the best use of him and the best kind of genre for a Nick Fury show is like spycraft. It is use him like in a Winter Soldier kind of way, or was it Days of the Condor or Parallax View, where he is kind of he's going undercover. He's managing an organization of spies, and nothing is as it seems. And if they want to use him as a springboard for flashbacks to his own life, where he could be played by another actor, even. Or have him be like the Charlie in a Charlie's Angels. Like, it doesn't mean that because it's a Nick Fury show, he's going to have to carry the action and all the weight of the series on his shoulders. Like, for all we know, this could be him and the new Black Widow, Florence Pugh. She could be his partner. They just aren't announcing that yet. So, or he could just be behind a desk in space.
Space desk. Stumptown's recent cancellation means Kobe Smulders might be a little more available to appear on this show.
Also true, and it'd be nice to see her actually get a little bit of love in one of these shows too. Since I feel like the mission statement for some of these shows is to give the mid card a little more of a chance to shine. When I saw this headline, I sort of like where your head's at there, Spencer, because I was very whelmed. I'm ready to see Samuel L. Jackson do something new. I think he's earned it. And so, I think if it's more of like if they do some kind of slow burn espionage show that's a little less beat 'em up, which, I mean, there will still be beat 'em up because it's Marvel and not Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. But I'm also down with Sam Jackson doing Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy in space. I don't know how I made that title harder to say, but I did. Yeah, I think that could be cool. Eric?
I think just that, yeah, there is this opportunity here because Fury has been a fun presence to come on for a few scenes and be Samuel L. Jackson, but we don't really know the guy as a character. And I think Winter Soldier, which is funny to say because he's like off screen for a huge portion of that movie, presumed dead, but at least he had his kind of cool action set piece with the car. That was one of the only movies that gave him his own sort of real moment. Avengers a little bit. But I think this would be a cool opportunity to be like, okay, who is this guy a little more? Because he's never obviously had like any sort of deep scenes that are really about Nick going home and hanging out. So I think we obviously know Samuel L. Jackson is a great actor in all regards. So I think there is a cool opportunity there.
You could finally have a reckoning with that space cat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That damn Flurkin.
He'll never trust again.
Hey, you guys want to answer some questions from chat?
If they got him.
They do. Get your questions in there, people. We got him. Arceus, Lord of Creation. Very metal name, by the way. Asked, should WandaVision, and well, I should do it in a voice befitting Arceus, Lord of Creation. Should WandaVision and other Disney Plus shows do a weekly release? My answer is no. I think I think the binge works. The binge model works for certain things now. I like my bake-offs and my competition shows to drop in a binge, so I can crank through that stuff. But I think these event things that they're investing this much money and care in need to be weekly. That way they remain in the conversation. I think Stranger Things got. After season 1 and like the shock of how great season 1 is, I think the follow-ups for Stranger Things got lost in the void, basically, because they dropped in one weekend and then everything was starting to hit the binge model and all the streaming services were going and then it was on to the next thing and it just didn't feel special anymore.
Yeah. Also, the Disney Plus doesn't have that much stuff, so they need to portion it out accordingly. Yeah. This is what they did with The Mandalorian. It worked. We talk about The Mandalorian every single week, so why not do it with WandaVision? Yep,
they got like Mickey carving up that bean.
Yeah.
So this little translucent little piece comes off of it.
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of the weekly release, and sometimes I get in some Twitter fights about it. And I know, first of all, I do want to admit it is there's the bias of the job here because yes, it's nice to have content for 8 weeks versus 1 week to talk about. But I also just think as a fan of TV, and I thought someone, my friend Matt Fowler put it really well the other day because people were celebrating the 7th anniversary of Ozymandias. Am I saying that name right? The amazing Breaking Bad episode, which was their third to last episode. And he said, "Oh, wouldn't it have sucked if that were part of a binge release?" And I was like, "Absolutely," because no one would have had the time to be like, wow, let's talk about what an amazing hour of TV we all just watched, because we would all be watching at different times and just burning through to the next two. And I understand wanting to watch. I've binged, guys. I'll admit it, and I'll binge again. But I do think it's better for you. It's more enjoyable. There's something about that. Let's talk about what just happened. Let's speculate about what's going to happen. And especially with these kind of shows, with the shows that are already sort of heavy on what's next, cliffhangers, it works really well. And I enjoy it. Call me a traditionalist.
Well, I think, too, when Marvel knows they can own a press cycle as hard as they can with a movie, now imagine 5 weeks of a WandaVision movie, and how hard they can push with that. So, yeah, we're all agreed. Weekly. Simon Smith asked, which modern musician should play the Sting role in the remake of Dune?
Excellent question. Excellent.
I give this to you, Dune head.
Sting plays Fade Routha, who's he's a Harkonnen, so he's not a good guy. He's actually pretty much a complete dick. And I think Sting was a good choice for that time because like a lot of people hate Sting. This is kind of the beginning of the Sting hate because he was just transitioning into his tantric sex, just obnoxious phase. Although I think Desert Rose is a jam. But so you need someone that captures that, like a super popular musician that you wouldn't mind seeing get cut in the face with a bunch of daggers.
So someone we're kind of starting to turn on.
Yeah, someone we're kind of starting to turn. I was gonna say John Mayer, but you'd want somebody who is just about to become John Mayer, not not John Mayer as he's known in
his final form.
Yeah, his final form. So I actually don't know who's having that moment right now. Maybe the chat can help us out.
Yeah,
I might have to abstain from this because I have consumed 0 Dune content in my life. I have not read a Dune, seen a Dune.
A Dune?
Yes.
Are there any pop stars you're about to turn on?
Yes, I don't know. I'll have to think about this.
Chat's throwing. I'm not seeing anyone consistently come up, but I'm seeing Stephen H. say Bjork.
How dare you?
Emmanuel Detective says Eminem. Edwin Bianquanardo says Machine Gun Kelly.
Oh, good choice. Good choice.
Yeah, good choice. Real good choice. Kanye?
I see a Seattle KO, Post Malone. And
Post Malone would be great.
Yeah, Machine Gun Kelly. Originally I was
really any white rapper. That's my answer.
Yeah.
Some Bieber mode.
Action Bronson. Originally I was just trying to think of odd musicians that could be in Dune, but I think you raise a really good point of it needs to be someone we really want to see get punched in the face.
Bieber would be perfect.
Yeah.
There's been some votes for Bieber,
solid Bieber. Renee Jimenez asks, please ask Joe to show that skull he has on the shelf. Here it is. This is the skull that I have on the shelf. Isn't that fun? Yeah, look at that. There's the skull.
Cool.
Where did you get it?
A fan made it for me.
Whoa.
That is a fan-made skull. It's also a really solid weapon if someone ever breaks in. It's pretty hefty, and I can smash someone's skull with the skull. Rob Turner. We're going to spend at least 10 minutes on this. Rob Turner asks, what MCU team member do you reckon is the best swimmer?
Now, see, the movies haven't brought in your obvious aquatic answers like Submariner or Stingray.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with a dead character, but still Quicksilver, because if you can run fast and move your hands fast, feel like, he could just shoot across the water.
Could the Hulk with like a single breaststroke, cross the Pacific?
Right. But I also want to add in the discipline that it takes day in and day out to become a peak swimmer. Does Quicksilver have the discipline?
Well, yeah, I guess
he would have if he stayed with us. We'll never know.
Is this
or a mom that
open water, or are we doing like swimming lanes in a pool? Because I don't think the Hulk has the discipline to stay in his lane.
No,
or to even stay in the
Vision
pool.
Swimming sounds pretty funny. It just feels like that would look funny.
That's true. Yeah. You could just kind of go translucent, but I'm saying that like you can't, like you couldn't have Iron Man just like flying back and forth. Like you need to use your body, arms and legs, in a coordinated manner to move through the water.
I guess it's got to be Steve.
Steve, he's got the endurance for sure.
Yeah.
Ryan mentioning the Vision though. When I did a set visit to Civil War a few years ago, I had the pleasure of standing behind the Vision's double in his full makeup, full costume, full cape, holding a backpack over his shoulder, waiting to get his food. It was a fun little visual, a visual, if you will.
I mean, I don't want to try to one-up you, but one time Spencer and I stood next to Mark Andreyko in full Vision makeup and costume while he just made fun of everyone around us under his breath.
I like it too.
Basically the same story.
Black Panther, R.I.P.
Yeah.
He could definitely do it. Thor, I don't know. I don't see Thor as a swimmer for whatever reason. He doesn't have a swimmer's body.
Well, he's not going to show up at 3 a.m. to the pool. Like, he's not going to do it.
He'd electrocute everybody.
Right. I think Spencer, I'm going to go with you with Black Panther, because I also think his mom would also make the drive every day to take her royal son to the pool for training. Like, she would definitely make sure he was there on time and had breakfast and stretched.
Sadly, though, I think it's Hawkeye, actually. Because he's just like, I'm a swimmer. He's like, I'm doing laps in the morning. Like, there's a certain kind of like jock dork hybrid that I think swimmers are, and I think Hawkeye fits it perfectly.
There's never been a just swimming scene. I know that Thor went into that weird pool of water in Avengers.
That was lounge. Yeah, he more just lounge.
But it's just funny because New Mutants has a swimming pool scene, so I was like, "Oh, the MCU, you're really lacking on a swimming pool scene."
I can neither confirm or deny that I saw the swimming pool on my set visit to the New Mutants.
In 2024, you'll reveal it all.
Hawkeye's a good choice too, because I guarantee you he's like a guy who's like, after my third court-ordered anger management, like I knew I had to make the change, so I got in the water. Okay, good. We spent about 10 minutes on that, and I think we hit it. Let's see here. Raymond Velasquez asks, this is another good one. Swords, whips, or spears? Which weapon is cooler?
Wow.
Cinematically speaking, I say whip, even though I think practically it would be the hardest to actually use as a weapon versus a punishment device.
Yeah.
Because running around with a sword, you can use it, hold it up, defend. To actually whip well in the middle of a fight, I feel would be very, very difficult. But when I see Catwoman or Indiana Jones do it, I'm like, that looks pretty cool.
Spencer?
Yeah, I think it's got to be the whip. It's just so naughty. You can use it for so many things, but I think that it's like you said, it's the degree of difficulty that makes it cool. Like if somebody can whip something out of their hands or rip around something and bring it back to them. Like you see swords and spears all the time. You know, we're here at the movies. We want to see something different.
One of my first miscellaneous jobs in Los Angeles was basically being the assistant for the fight choreographer on this shoot, and I had to go pick him up and I had to take him to set and just hang out with him and all that good stuff. And his name was Paradox. That's his name. And we ended up getting to the shoot. We ended up getting to set really early, and so he was like, "Come to the roof with me," and I was like, "Okay, Paradox," and I walked up to the roof and he was just standing there with a whip, and he spent the morning trying to teach me how to use it, and it didn't work. It did not take at all.
A, that's amazing. B, I do like that a whip being inherently difficult is how they decided to explain Harrison Ford's real life chin scar in Last Crusade in the Remake sequence.
Yep, genius.
Tracks. Absolutely
and,
tracks.
The best part of Johnny Mnemonic is the laser whip.
Agreed.
And Star Wars in canon has laser whips that hopefully make it into a movie one day.
Yep.
Those are pretty cool.
So I think we're all agreed. Whips, and then if we have the option, laser whips.
And release the Paradox cut.
Exactly.
All right, let's leave with this one. Jarrett Johnson asks, "How do you guys make PB&Js? My spouse puts peanut butter on both sides of the bread and the jelly in the middle. That's weird, right?"
Huh. Yeah, I gotta say that's non-traditional. Who are we to say it's weird or not? But
I mean,
it's
respect,
just peanut butter on one side, jelly on the other. Like, come on.
I've made a fair share of PB&J in pandemic year. I've rediscovered my love for it. But yeah, I do both sides. But one thing I've decided to not have a hang up anymore is I used to be like, I got to clean off that knife from the peanut butter before I go to the jelly. And I'm like, the only time I have jelly is with peanut butter. So who cares if some peanut butter gets in the jelly jar? Just use the knife.
That's a time saver. That's a life hack right there.
That's fair. Hassan Minhaj got called out. He was doing a video of him making a sandwich, and everyone was like, "Don't wipe that knife off on a paper towel. Wipe it off on the edge of the sandwich that you just spread PB on." So I took that advice. Is there anything like a third item that you guys refuse to add to a PB&J? Like, I'm a banana guy. I like adding a banana.
Sure.
I'm usually a purist, but I don't mind the banana if it gets thrown in there.
Smooth or crunchy peanut butter?
Oh, very good question. Smooth or crunchy, gentlemen?
I'm still a smooth man. I'm
a crunchy man.
I can't. It's not that I can't take a crunch, but given the option, I'll go smooth.
Yeah. I'll go smooth.
Whereas the jelly is only for a PB&J. I use peanut butter for all kinds of things, and the smooth is, it's more versatile. You put it in a smoothie, do all kinds of stuff.
Eric Elia asked strawberry or grape jelly, which I think is a good follow up.
Ooh, I'm a grape guy.
Yeah.
More of a Raz man myself.
Yeah, raspberry or grape, but also specific like jelly, not preserves. I made the preserves mistake the other day. I was like, maybe I suddenly like preserves and bought preserves, and that didn't work.
Did any of you ever have my mom, when I was a kid, would always get the healthy peanut butter with the liquid on top that you had to stir together?
I can't deal with it. Can't do it.
I have nightmares about it. and it had no flavor. It was not because there was no salt or sugar.
Yeah,
nightmare about the liquid on the peanut butter. That is a childhood trauma.
It's just nut water, Eric.
I don't want nut water.
Don't want
Philip
nut water.
in chat then asks like if you guys are grilled or toasted PB&J boys.
Wow, grilled sounds good. I got to do that, but no, I'm too lazy. I just put it in the toaster, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, like, if it's, I'm all by myself, I'm going to light some candles, put on some music. I'll toast my PB&J bread. But if it's just, a mad dash to consume food before I'm back at my desk writing, then yeah, it's just slap it all on. And
I'm cold and soggy. Sorry.
Cold soggy only.
Cold and soggy with a shot of nut water.
Hold the nut water.
And look, I don't think there's a better place to end the show than cold and soggy with a shot of nut water. So guys, let us know your PB&J preferences there in the comments, and we'll see you a little later today with the Simpsons edition of the Fandom 5. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.